The Bostonian is Matt Perrault.
This is our city.
The book is Dave Sharapan.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
Together, they are the Bostonian versus the book.
You covered 12. I covered.
Follow the show on Twitter at Boston versus the book.
How do you like them apples?
Bringing you the best insight on sports betting news, Matt and Dave's daily picks, and an entertaining and unfiltered dive into the sports betting industry. Here's Dave Sharapan and Matt Perrault.
And here we go.
What's up, boys and girls? How are you? Welcome into a Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon episode of the Bostonian versus the book. My name is Matt Perrault. Thanks, guys, for being here. We are live on our YouTube channel at Boston versus the book. The same on Twitter and X. We're replayed on Sports Grid Television and SiriusXM channel 159. Coming up on the show today, we're going to get into some Major League Baseball conversations. Opening line will be on football and indoor football. Great July topic today going on in Cleveland and what they're proposing to do. We'll talk about that a bit. And then we'll welcome in Derek Brown, who will join us. D-Bro will be with us each and every single Thursday. How we're going to do it with D-Bro is we're going to go through the divisions. Today, NFC East. We'll go through all four NFC divisions. Then we'll go into the AFC. And we'll give you season-long player props that D-Bro likes that you can bet right now. So looking forward to starting that conversation here in about 15 minutes with D, and we'll get into a bunch of things. We'll even take questions from you guys. He's going to join us every Thursday up until the start of the NFL football season. So looking forward to those conversations. As I told you, we're going to start to have some more weekly guests as we roll through the summertime months. So D-Bro from FantasyPros and BettingPros on the program today in about 15 minutes or so. We'll start with the NFC East and the defending champ Eagles, and then go through the rest of the year, rest of the NFL as we go through the summertime. So stay tuned for all of that. For those of you who are asking for an update about Dave, I don't have one at the moment. I did not get anything yet back from the Sharapan family. So if I do during the show, I'll pass it along, but I don't know any more than what I knew yesterday. Is that he made it through surgery, things were good, and that's all I've heard so far. So if I do get more information, if I am told more, I will tell you guys, pass it along, obviously, so you guys can be informed as to what's going on with Dave. But the news was good. When he came out of surgery, everything went according to plan for Dave. So from there, I'll give you whatever info I get. But for right now, that's all that I know. We start the show with the opening line. All right, this is kind of like a late story, but it's a new story to me. So yesterday, there was some pretty big developments in Ohio involving the Cleveland Browns. The Browns, last fall, the Browns made it known kind of quietly because everybody was talking about the Bears and that Chicago was going to build a dome stadium. The Browns made news in October that I completely missed, that they are going to actively look to build a stadium in the suburbs, but they want a dome. Cleveland wants a dome. The Bears want a dome. Is there going to be a time where we don't play football outside? Like, it is kind of nuts. When you start looking around the NFL and you start looking around and going, okay, hold on. Every time someone's building a new stadium now, they're not building an outdoor stadium unless you're Buffalo. Good on you, Buffalo. Everybody else is building retractable roof, full dome, or like partially enclosed. Even Buffalo is preaching about how partially enclosed the building is. Like, the playing surface is still going to be exposed to wind, rain, and snow, but the fans are not going to be. The fans are going to be covered. They're going to be protected. Cleveland now has $600 million in taxpayer funding as the governor yesterday signed the new budget in Ohio that gives $600 million in public funding towards a fully enclosed, state-of-the-art dome stadium in Cleveland. I don't know Cleveland as well as you guys in our audience who live in the Midwest. I don't know where Brook Park is, but by all accounts and everything I've read, Brook Park is a very nice community outside of Cleveland. But we're going to keep on building domes. Football, like real football, teams that are accustomed to playing in the elements, use it to their advantage. Like playing outdoors in Cleveland, playing outdoors in Pittsburgh, playing outdoors in the cold weather environments. This is a big deal. Like this is a big part of your identity. This is a big part of who you are as an organization. You literally draft to play in the elements. Like the Steelers for years, they draft players that can handle the black and blue division, and they can handle playing outdoors in December, in January. Home playoff games used to really matter. Home playoff games were things that you would strive for. You'd be like, we need to play football outside because if we play a Miami or a Houston or a team from Arizona or whatever it might be, we've got an advantage because we play outdoors. We practice outdoors. You know, teams historically have always had a practice bubble when the weather gets really bad, but the good teams go outside. They practice outside. Like this obsession with indoor football is wild. If you look at the NFL right now, there are 12 teams of the 32 that play either indoors with retractable roofs or partially enclosed roofs. If you add Chicago and Cleveland, we'd be up to 14. 14 teams playing indoors, essentially, in the NFL. That's half the league that are playing out of the elements. And in certain environments, I'll give it to you, like when it's super hot or it rains a lot or, you know, Arizona, Las Vegas, like these are super hot communities. Playing in September in Arizona, in Vegas is not smart, right? Los Angeles, it rains a lot. So you want to have it be a multi-purpose facility for SoFi Stadium. So you have a lot. But let's be frank here. What they're talking about is the Super Bowl. That's why they're building this, right? Chicago wants a Super Bowl and Cleveland wants a Super Bowl. I'm going to once again tell you my list of things that should not happen. And this is one of them, okay? One of them is, here's my list of the markets that should be hosting Super Bowls. And guess what? Cleveland and Chicago are not on it. Houston is a dome. Vegas is a dome. Miami is partially enclosed, but Miami is Miami. New Orleans is a dome. Los Angeles is a dome. Phoenix is a dome. Atlanta is a dome, and I guess I'll deal with San Francisco on one condition only, is that it's the same weather year-round in San Francisco. Like February and May and June and July, it's all the same in San Francisco. So I'll give it to you. And this year, we're going to San Francisco for the Super Bowl. I'll give that to you. But this obsession with having a Super Bowl and why we're going to, hey, you build this stadium like what Vegas did. They got the Super Bowl. Remember Minnesota? We gave the Super Bowl to Minneapolis. Like, what are we doing? But they built a stadium. You build a stadium. We gave it to New York. Why? Well, they built a stadium, so you got to give it to them. It makes no sense. Like, we had a Super Bowl in New Jersey. So, like, we have to look at this and go, all right, you can build a stadium, but just because you build a stadium, the media doesn't want to go to Cleveland. The media doesn't want to go to Chicago, and that's not a knock on the city, okay? New York is New York. Dallas is Dallas, but nobody wants to go to those markets because the weather can be crappy in February. You want to go somewhere fun. You want to go somewhere where you're going to have a chance, and it's fine. It's a fan thing, and it's a media thing, but you want to go to a place that's going to be able to accommodate the outdoor activities and the fun that you get after covering an entire year. And so having it in Cleveland, you can't do anything outside in Cleveland in February. You can't do it in Chicago. But this is their angle. This is what all the politicians are being told about building a dome. Hey, build a dome. Play football indoors. We'll get a Super Bowl. We'll be able to have all these fun multi-purpose activities. We'll get concerts. We'll get all these cool things. And while the concert thing is real, look at Vegas with Allegiant Stadium and what has happened since they built Allegiant. That's a legitimate thing you can talk about. And a Super Bowl was played in Las Vegas. This is not how you play football in the black and blue division. This is not how the Bears play football. I get it. You guys in Cleveland, you want a brand new stadium. I understand. You guys who are all gung-ho about having football and having a championship caliber team, you think that players don't want to go play outdoors. Make them play outdoors. I mean, the Big Ten, these guys are going to play college football in Big Ten country. And I know UCLA and USC are now part of the Big Ten, and that's weird. But we still have Ohio State and Michigan State and these powerhouse programs, Penn State, these outdoor power programs that play football in December when it's cold outside. Go and draft those players. And for the most part, that division does. And look, the AFC East does too, outside of Miami. Patriots for years. Jets have tried. The Bills, we know what they do. They go and try to find guys who can play outside in the wind, strong-arm quarterbacks who can play in the snow, mudders for running backs. They try all these things. So I get what Cleveland's trying to do. I do. But I'm really concerned that we might actually get to a point where football is an indoor sport, that we actually play professional football like arena football. And I covered arena football. It's fun, okay? It's a unique thing when you have different rules, but like, are we going to hang nets and kick balls off nets and have that? Because we already tried that and people didn't really like that. Like, they think that's a fun gimmick in the summertime in the South to get out of the heat. And it's violent, so people like it, but it's not what the NFL was built on. It's not what the sport of football was built on. Tackle football for teams in Chicago and Cleveland, I want that game outdoors. I want the game in Buffalo outdoors. I want the game in New England outdoors. I want the game in New York outdoors. I want games in Seattle to be outdoors. That's partially enclosed now. San Francisco is outdoors. So we're going outdoors this year for the Super Bowl, but that's becoming very rare in terms of where we're going to play Super Bowls. They're all domes. And while I get the idea of having a pristine playing surface for the two best teams when they make the Super Bowl, I don't know. I still kind of like the idea of having to go and play outdoors to get there. The championship game, fine. But again, it's not so much about the building. It's not so much about the market. It's more about like what the environment is around the game for the Super Bowl. I'm cool with the Super Bowl being played in domes. You just saw my list of cities. I'm good with the dome setup for the game itself. It's the market itself. And I love Chicago. I've been to Cleveland a couple of times, but not for any length of time. I've gone through it. I've driven through it. I've stopped for a couple of days. Nothing lengthy. I've been in Chicago a ton for Big Ten media days, for my own personal travel. I know Chicago. Unbelievable market. I'm not trying to downplay how cool Chicago is. One of the best eating cities in the country. What I am going to downplay is that we don't need indoor football. We don't need the Bears to be indoors in climate control. Detroit has it, okay? You already have it in Detroit. I don't need it in Chicago. I don't need it in Cleveland. It's a nice little gimmick. But these Detroit, New York, Minneapolis, now Cleveland, Chicago Super Bowls, the answer is no. No, I'm not giving you guys what you want. I know why you want it. I know why your politicians want it. I get all of it. It's $600 million in taxpayer money to build a dome that's been approved. The Cleveland Browns are going to play in a dome stadium. The Chicago Bears are going to play in a dome stadium. And like I mentioned, that's half the league. It's half the NFL. Part of the fun of handicapping games is the weather. Part of the fun in Cleveland is the wind. It's ridiculous. Kickers trying to, make a 35-yard kick and they can't. Punters can't punt the ball 30 yards down the field. That's fun. I don't need it to be sterile, every game to be exactly the same. But that's what the NFL is turning into at the moment. No weather. Weather's not, those rich, guys in the suites. That's why we have windows on the suites. So they can be climate controlled, not the game. Serious question. They're going to build a new stadium in Missouri for the Chiefs. Arrowhead Stadium has been one of the best home field advantages in the NFL in their history. Outdoors. We building a dome? My gut would tell me yes. I haven't even seen the plans, and I'm going to tell you probably the folks, the Chiefs are probably angling to build a stadium that has a dome. That would be 15 of the 32 teams having a dome stadium. Nah, I am not a fan of this. Play football outside. Domes are meant to be gimmicky. They're meant to be once in a while, right? Every now and then, or when the weather really is bad. And what's really funny, the worst weather market in the country, Buffalo, New York, they're building a new stadium and they're building one outside. I like what the Bills are doing. I don't like what anybody else is doing in terms of where the NFL is at the moment. No, thank you. Play football outside. Speaking of football and outdoor football, most of this, well, the Dallas Jerry's world is sort of an enclosed wannabe outdoor-indoor stadium, but everybody else plays outdoors. Philly plays outdoors. Washington plays outdoors. And the New York Giants play outdoors. Every Thursday, D-Bro, Derek Brown, FantasyPros, BettingPros going to join us to break down a different division in the NFL. Today, we're jumping in to the one and only NFC East. What's up, my friend? How are you? Thanks for coming on.
Oh, Perrault, I was sitting here listening to the legendary rant about domes versus outside in the green room here, and I'm loving every bit of this, dude. I mean, there's part of me that, of course, from the betting markets where you're like, yeah, give me the overs, give me the points, let's go. And the other part of me that's like more old school, and I'm like, dude, some of the most memorable football games that have ever been played, like the Blizzard game in Buffalo, all these like monsoon games. I mean, some of these teams are built for this kind of stuff. I mean, just look at the AFC North. They're built to play when it's cold outside, when you don't want to tackle dudes, when it's nasty. I mean, can you imagine, like, if we went back and we said the greatest show on turf in Pittsburgh?
Right? What happened, right?
It's a little bit different, man.
Yeah, it looks different. And the game is played differently. And I'm with you on the overs. That's fun. People like scoring in football.
Yeah, of course.
But, like, the Lions build their roster towards their stadium. The Steelers, the Bears, historically speaking, Buffalo, historically speaking, teams build their rosters because they play half their games at home. And that's what makes it unique. I like that idea. Yeah. I mean, some of the best playoff games, you mentioned it, but like I go to the Patriot playoff games against the Colts where it was snowing and the indoor team from Indianapolis is outside in December and January, freezing their asses off. And the Patriots had a gigantic advantage over Peyton Manning and the Colts when that happened. That's why we play the regular season, to have home field advantage. If everyone plays on the same surface, that's out the window, is it not?
Well, then you're going to see a lot. I mean, the NFL is already moving towards lighter, faster. I mean, well, you're seeing a little bit of pushback that now with the defensive structures and stuff and teams going more old school and running against these two high looks. But I think you'd see a lot of different team builds and stuff like that. Basically, like, what are teams going to covet? What are they going to care about? I think a good marriage between all of this is, not to give Jerry Jones any kind of praise,
right,
but the retractable roofs, you know what I mean? Where you can get the best of both worlds. Like, you can have the roof open, and with the NFL, I'm not saying like they go to, you know, regulating that kind of stuff, like whether it's outdoor versus indoor, but then you can have the best of both worlds. Like, if it is a monsoon, if it is one of those things where like there's weather advisories and stuff like that. That's one of the things when I was living in South Florida, man, like you never went to Marlins games during the day. Like before the Texas Rangers got an indoor game, you never went to games during the day. Either one of those, like I was going to night games or I wasn't going. Like, you weren't going to die from heat stroke in the middle of the day. Hell no, man.
Or thunderstorms and tornado warnings.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I get part of it, but the other side is like, if you're going to do it, not just straight dome, like make everything a retractable roof. If this is where they're going to go.
Well, Browns have $600 million to play with from the state now. So it's a lot of money that they get from the public in Ohio that some people are pretty upset about that, but that's a different topic for a different show. All right, let's get to, we're going to talk divisions and we're going to talk season-long futures each week. We're going to break down these divisions. So we're going to start today with the NFC East. This division is not won, and I think it's going back 22 years now, is not won by the same team in back-to-back seasons. Eagles won it last year. Where are you on Philadelphia, given the talent that's in this division with Washington? I am way down on the Giants, way more than most people, but the Cowboys will be a little bit better as well. Are the Eagles the class, and will they win this division?
I think they will. I mean, and the roster is just too stacked. I mean, I think if you're looking to put any money on a team outside of that, Dallas makes some sense because of their odds at plus 600. But I think the odds are right that Philly should be the consensus favorite here, because I'm actually probably more concerned than maybe the market is on the Washington Commanders. Wasn't a huge fan of their offseason. I think a lot of things lined up perfectly for them last year. I mean, they just hit Yahtzee, man. Like every single move they hit, everything with Jaden Daniels. Like a lot of their offseason moves were, I'm not going to say head scratching, but I was not a fan of the Debo trade. You can talk about Tunsil for days, but I think if I'm putting money outside of Philly, which I mean, I'm looking at on BettingPros right now, minus 150, there's no money to be had really there. So if I was going to toss any other cash on a division winner here, it'd probably be Dallas. But what are your thoughts?
No, I'm with you. I mean, I think everything has to go right again for the Commanders to contend. And it could, but I mean, they're 1 or 2 big injuries away. I'm with you on how much Debo's got left in the tank for them. I wanted the Patriots to take a look at him, but then I saw the price and I was like, no, thank you. So I was good with him going to the Commanders. But the one thing that I have gotten the most heat on in this summertime talk, I think the Giants are in real trouble. They have the hardest schedule on paper of anybody in the NFL. They have 3 quarterbacks, and I wouldn't want any of them. And you and I have talked extensively about Jackson Dart. I like Jackson Dart. I think he's going to be a decent pro. I do think he's got the right head coach for his development. Unfortunately, I just don't think he's going to be there long term because the Giants, I think, have to win this year or they're going to clean house and fire everybody. And given the division, I don't know if they win 2 games in the division going forward here. So I'm down on the Giants. I think under on 5.5 wins for the Giants is a good play. I don't think they win 5 games. Where are you on New York?
I just pulled up their schedule because, I mean, I've heard a lot of the tough schedule things with New York. I haven't, like, perused their schedule. But, I mean, brutal. As you're going through it, I'm like, dude, I just pulled up their schedule, and I'm like, they might not win a game until I mean, legitimately, week 10, week 11, like maybe after the bye. Like,
well, my point has been this. So they open up, you guys. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I'll give it to you. It's Washington, Dallas on the road, Chiefs at home, Chargers at home. There's your first 4 games. That's an 0-4 start.
Maybe they beat the Saints.
If they don't beat the Saints on the road, and they could do that. But that's a road game, and who's the quarterback? Is it Russ? Is it Winston? Is it Dart by that point? I'm like, who are they playing at quarterback? So I think that's a huge problem. So let's say they win that game. They play Philly on Thursday. They come back after the road trip to New Orleans. They play the Eagles at home. That's a loss. Then they go to Denver on the road, and I know you're high on the Broncos as to what they're going to look like this year. They come back to play Philly again. They play Philly on the road after that. So if they don't beat New Orleans, that's 2 months. That's all of September and all of October. 0 wins for the New York Giants. So then after that, they go San Francisco at home. And by that time, McCaffrey could be back and healthy. At Chicago in November, never easy. Green Bay at home, right, tough. And then Detroit and the Patriots on the road. I mean, that's 2 wins, maybe that's 2 wins.
Yeah, I'm with you on the under on the win total, definitely. I think where we divide a little bit is I think the drafting of Jackson Dart actually gives probably Dayball in that front office maybe a little bit of a leash because I don't think ownership green lights drafting a quarterback, trading up for him in the first round if they're just going to fire, if they're going to clean house. Now. Okay. If they start with the way that we're talking about, like, dude, like maybe like we're looking at week 13 and people start talking about, could this team go winless? Then maybe we're having a very different conversation in the middle of the season. I think they probably got at least 1 more year of a leeway to see what Dart is and see what that looks like. And I do think that we're underselling how good their defense could be, especially their pass rush, and making some of these games a little bit uglier, a little bit closer, and how that could work out. But, I mean, on paper, this schedule is brutal. Like, it's incredibly rough, Perrault.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who they pissed off in the league office, but that schedule is terrible. It's terrible. In their bye is late on top of that. Yep. They don't have the bye week till week 14. So as things start to snowball, and then they play Washington, Minnesota after the bye at Vegas, they got to travel out west, and then they come back home to play the Cowboys in the last game of the year, and that might matter for Dallas. It probably won't matter for the Giants. So, like, I just look at the schedule and I'm like, go look finding 6 wins out of that roster
No
as to where they are, even 5 wins for that roster. So I think it's going to be a rough year, and Giant fans are doing what you just did. They go, wait a minute, our defense is going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. Awesome. That's great. I know Neighbors is great, but then what else are we talking about? Like, D coordinators know what to do. There's one player to worry about, basically, when it comes to the Giants. And I don't know what I like Jackson Dart. I don't know what he's going to look like. And historically speaking, if you're going to feed him to the Wolves, you've got 2 veteran quarterbacks who are not going to be happy about sitting down. Well, let me ask you this. Are both those veterans, are Winston and Wilson, on the roster?
What, by the time like middle of the season?
Just in general, you got 3 quarterbacks, so they cut one of them in camp and just carry 2.
I think you could see Winston maybe traded if we had like, the Sam Bradford type of deal where somebody gets hurt in camp. I mean, like if Joe Flacco goes down in training camp, do they really want to start freaking Kenny Pickett or Shadur Sanders? Could he go right back to Cleveland? I mean, the thing that Winston has going for him, like what you're getting with him, but he's a good locker room guy. Like, to me, if you're going to trade anybody, you probably trade Russ, because if he's got to sit on the bench, he's the one that's going to make the quietest stink about it, not Jameis Winston. So I think if you're looking at one of these guys more likely getting moved, it's probably easier for Winston to get moved and how that would look. But Russ is probably the guy. But then, dude, we know who Russ is at this point of his career. Like, he is such a limited quarterback. That's why I think Dart's probably going to start earlier than – as long as he doesn't implode in the preseason, doesn't look rough in training camp. I don't get any of those indications based off of anything offseason, anything that I believe about him as a player. Like, I think this dude is a dog, and he's going to work. It's one of the things that I think kind of got underreported was his just mental makeup, because we're not in the interviews and stuff like that. But I think he's going to start earlier than people probably give it credit for. One, this schedule. So, I mean, the team's going to say, well, I mean, dude, we're staring at 0-6. Why not? Are we not going to put the kid out there?
Fair.
But also, Russell Wilson's such a limited quarterback at this point of his career. The wheels are gone. He does not utilize the middle of the field. It is literally check down. I mean, dude, he's just the supposed mobile version of Derek Carr at this point. It is literally check down or we're going moon ball. And if there's anything in between and a team plays too high and they say, well, we're taking away the moon balls, what you got? Russ has no other tricks in the back left.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, wait a minute. You chose to sign Russell Wilson, and then they put Winston in behind him. And I went, okay, I like the Winston signing more than I like the Russ signing. So I was like, wait a minute, that's backwards. That should have been the other way around. And then they drafted Dart, and I was like, okay, well, I like that better than all 3. So I think Dart should be the guy. It's just a matter of how fast do they want to roll to him, how fast do they want to play him. I mean, even the Patriots last year, were getting pressure early when they were struggling to play their rookie quarterback, and they held off as much as they could. And then ultimately everyone got fired. So like, I'm just wondering if that same thing's going to happen in New York, where you'll play the rookie thinking you've got more time. Hey, I got a rookie. And then it's, sorry, you went 2-15. We got to make a move. It's New York. We can't afford it. So we're blowing you all out, and Daboll's gone.
Well,
right, let's talk.
John Mara's such a fool anyway, but we can move on from that. We could go off on a 30-minute tangent about how he's an absolute idiot.
Right. So let's get to your plays, season-long props that you like. Let's start with Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts to go over 600.5 rushing yards with that. So whenever we're talking about a running quarterback, obviously we got to worry about injury, right? So injuries come into play here. But Hurts has been very durable, and any concern that he won't want to run as much this year after the championship?
I don't think so. I mean, it's a focal point of his game. And considering his build, I mean, this dude's one of the strongest guys pound for pound in the freaking NFL. So I don't see that part of his game changing. I feel like this line is off. I feel like you look how this line was set, 600.5 rushing yards, minus 110. This line is very indicative of books looking at last year and playing it forward. Like, he had 605 rushing yards last year. And if you look at before the week 16 injury, Perrault, I mean, this dude was on a pace to basically equal or be in the same neighborhood and easily clear this mark. He was on 715 rushing yard pace. So this is just books playing out like last year and saying, okay, well, we're going to set the line around here. And if he misses any games, because he does have a history of missing a few games towards the end of the season over the last few years, then, okay, maybe we hit and playing the rushing or at least the injury probability here. But if he stays healthy, which, I mean, I'm not projecting Hurts to miss any games, considering the build, considering the team, all the things, parts and pieces, and looking at the pace, I mean, I think he's going to easily clear this mark. Maybe even if he does miss a game or two, because, I mean, the guy was easily like lock him into 700 plus. So if that's the case again this year, and they're throwing more, which is going to give him more scramble opportunities, because the other part about it is with the rushing, he can't run the ball if they're giving design carries to freaking Saquon Barkley, like a crap ton. Like, so Philly is going to throw more this year. It's not an if, it's just it's a consideration of how much more do they throw this year.
Well, that goes right into your second prop, because you got Devontae Smith to go over 800.5 receiving yards. I love this kid. I think he is one of the most underrated, not talked about enough wide receivers because of AJ Brown and how much people love. And look, I'm a big AJ Brown guy. I love him, but I think I'm with you. I think this could be a big year for Devontae Smith, over 800.5 yards. Why?
I mean, dude, again, this is the books looking at last year. He got 833 yards in 13 games in one of the run heaviest offenses in the NFL. I mean, they were historically run heavy, Perrault. Like, so we know that that's going to switch. That's going to flip it. I mean, every year the NFL, it's not, there's so much baked into whether it's the books or fans or what have you, talking about last year and the repeatability of last year. And yet every single year, what are we saying by week 7, week 8? We're saying, oh my gosh, look at the craziness and how much things have changed over a year. So the Eagles are going to throw the ball more. And again, this line being set, I think heavily influenced by last year. Devonta Smith has had at least 916 receiving yards in every other freaking season of his career. So what are we doing here? Like, this is an easy over. And I'm not one for always, like, and I know we're going to talk about a ton of over bets right now, but I think like some of these lines were so early and before training camp, some of these things are going to move, that the overs are where I'm gravitating to a lot with these season long props, because we don't have the news out about this guy's winning the job or this is what it's looking like. So a lot of these lines, they're being made in the dark based off of a lot of, again, pointing back to last year's finishes and projecting that forward, when again, we know that's a fool's errand.
Yeah, I think sometimes either books are looking at injuries, and so they're trying to like bake that number in, or they're not that they know there's 17 games, but I feel like sometimes the numbers aren't indicative of a 17 game season. Or like, if he stays healthy for 17 games, don't you think this guy is going to go over 800 yards receiving? Like, it just seems like that 850 yards receiving, like that's what he'll wind up being able to do. So I like that. All right, moving on to Washington. 2 bets you like, both involving Jaden Daniels. Over on passing, over on rushing, 3,400 for the passing, 675.5 for the rushing. Is this just because like the whole team is based around him? It's just the Jaden Daniels show?
Basically, I mean, what's changed, man? Like, it is the Jaden Daniels show. I mean, this entire team runs through what Jaden Daniels is able to do. And I think some of the parts or pieces of how the Commanders started last year and him getting his feet wet in the NFL, check down heavy. You weren't seeing him throw the ball down the field in the first few weeks because of whether it was offensive line, getting acclimated to the NFL and the speed of the NFL. But you saw as the season moved along, we saw a lot of very Kingsbury type of things come out of the woodwork. This team started to run at a faster pace, so more play volume that can push him over both of these marks, and more passing. So again, we're talking about, we know he's going to get the design carries, but the scramble opportunities when he drops back are also in his bag. I mean, this guy was on a 3,750 yard pace before he missed, like he only played half of week 18 because they were assured they were getting in the playoffs. Washington said, oh, hell no. We're not running you out there for the full game. There is no reason to do that. And the dude was also like almost on a 3,800 yard passing pace at that point. And yet this line is at 3,400. So it's like, what are we doing here? Because again, they threw more. So week after week 13, Perrault, this was the 7th highest pass rate over expectation team. You had Jaden Daniels that was on a pace for 918 rushing yards. Weeks 1 through 17, 918. And yet this line doesn't even eclipse 700 rushing yards. Yeah. These are crazy lines, man.
That's the one that the passing one didn't stun me as much. The rushing one, when I looked at it, I went, wait, that's his rushing? Just because, again, it feels like, okay, the team doesn't want him to run as much. Well, that's not how he plays. Like, he wants to scramble, he wants to run, and when he has opportunities, he's going to take what the defense is giving him. And if they're looking to take away the new receivers that they've got, that seems to be very low to me. That number on him rushing is like, what am I missing? Why is that so low? Did you think that's baked in for an injury, or the team saying you can't run?
I think it's baked in for an injury, but if you look at just across the rushing yard totals for quarterbacks in general, it's like Lamar like smashes his over every year. We just talked about Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels. Like, I feel like they make these conservative lines, baking in injury risk for them. And it's like, if they stay healthy, which there's so much data out there that points to rushing quarterbacks are at no more greater risk of injury than even your pocket passers. Because how many years do we see the pocket passers go out? Matthew Stafford's, Drew Brees of the world that are not going to run, period. Freaking Tua. Like, all these guys that are pocket passers, but we don't talk about, or at least selectively, we talk about their injuries. But then I think it's more of the low-hanging fruit of like, well, the rushing guys are going to get hurt. Quarterback injuries just by and large are just fluky. Like, the running guys can stay healthy. They can get hurt. So can the pocket passers.
It's true. All right. So this is maybe your most controversial team, because I know certain people are going to scratch their heads and go, whoa.
Yep.
George Pickens over 900.5 receiving yards in his first year in Dallas. You like him to have a big year with Dak. Why?
This offense is going to revolve around Dak Prescott and the passing game. I mean, we don't have a new regime in the sense of like, we know what this offense is going to look like, and they are going to throw the freaking ball, Perrault. Like, over the last 2 years, Dallas is ranked 8th and 3rd in passing attempts. That 3rd ranking was with freaking Cooper Rush for half of the dang year, man. Dak Prescott back under center. Even if you don't want to talk about how the scheme has looked, Pickens is in a contract year, man, and money talks. So whether it's the passing volume, whether it's him keeping his head on straight, and honestly, dude, I don't want to go too far down narrative street, but how well has Dallas done with managing some of these head case players? Like Jerry Jones basically putting Des Bryant in bubble wrap over the years. Terrell Owens keeping his nose clean a lot. Like, I'm not just like they know how to manage this type of player. And I know that the track record for former head case Pittsburgh wide receivers going to other places and just crap in the bed.
Yeah.
I think Pickens can be different for a number of reasons. I think the contract stuff is definitely a motivating factor, but also this offense, we're not going to talk kindly about any of the running backs on that roster right now. So this offense, they know where their bread is buttered, and it's going to be through the passing attack with Dak and CeeDee Lamb. And everybody's like, well, how's George Pickens going to get any targets? Like, okay, CeeDee Lamb is there. Dude, if they throw the ball 500 times, which they're going to throw a crap ton more than that, CeeDee Lamb gets 200 targets. Where the hell do you think the other 300 are going? Like, somebody's got to catch passes outside of freaking him, like CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson. And we're going to talk about Ferguson here in a second, too.
Well, he's over 550 yards receiving. You like him to have a big year. So are you saying that Lamb's going to have a down year and these two guys step up? Or do you think it's going to be, are we throwing the ball on every down if we're the Dallas Cowboys?
You're going to be throwing the ball. And arguably, too, like, it's not just the history of this, but this is a consolidated passing offense, too, Perrault. Like, we're not talking about a team like, where are the targets going to go? It's going to be Ferguson, it's going to be Pickens, and it's going to be Lamb. And I think one of the big misses by Dallas last year is they expected Dak to just run it back and be like, okay, he's going to play Superman and elevate the entire offense, when they found out very quickly when Dak was even healthy last year that you need something outside of Ferguson and Lamb. Defenses are going to press you, and they're going to say, okay, if we take away Lamb, what you got? And they had no answer for that. It wasn't Jalen Tolbert. Brandon Cooks was cooked. It just wasn't the case. And so adding Pickens kind of changed my outlook for a lot of this offense. And getting back to Ferguson, man, again, this line is kind of more baked into what we saw last year. And much of that was like Ferguson just crushed. He got crushed by Cooper Rush under center. They went more, not run heavy, but it was like Lamb and nobody else. And Rush just kind of spreading out targets behind Lamb. Ferguson, when Dak was actually on the field weeks 1 through 8, was on pace to basically replicate the season that he had before. He was on pace for 745 receiving yards.
Let's go. One more. The Giants. Cam Scottaboo over 500.5 rushing yards. This feels artificially low for a guy who essentially is a battering ram.
Yep.
They're going to give him the rock, are they not? In particular, if Jackson Dart is playing, don't they want a power bruising back to go ahead and run through, the November, December, January part of the schedule?
Absolutely. And I know we just talked about game script and this team being winless and stuff like that. That doesn't change the fact of, especially like however you want to dice this up, whether it's protecting Jackson Dart or, again, going back to we know who Russell Wilson is, and you're not going to run a pass-heavy offense with Russell Wilson under center. It's not going to happen. You're going to run. You're going to utilize whatever he has left in his legs, and you're going to utilize play action. So a lot of this is going to be built around the run game scheme, and this line is artificially low because we don't know who the starter is for the Giants. But the way that I'm approaching this, Perrault, and why I think this is an easy over, and I know I've been the over guy right now, which is weird because I love hitting the unders, but I think this is where the money can be made at this point of the offseason, is these these unsteady situations. Like right now, we don't know who the definitive starter. A lot of people are looking at this backfield as it's going to be thunder and lightning. It's going to be a combination backfield. What did the Giants do last year that told us that this is going to be a committee backfield? It was Devin Singletary until it wasn't, and then it was Tyrone Tracy until he tried to fumble it away, and then it was Tyrone Tracy again. Like, we're talking about a team, again, return their coaching staff, return the offensive coordinator, all that kind of stuff. We're discussing a team that in 12 games, one running back played at least 65% of the snaps. In 7 games, one running back played at least 70% of the snaps. This team told us, and that was with Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary in that sample. So it wasn't just like, oh, Tyrone Tracy got all the work. He's the guy. Why do you not project him to be the guy?
Right.
And then you look at they draft Cam Scottaboo. You don't draft Cam Scottaboo to make him a committee back. If you're doing that, then you totally got lost in the sauce and missed everything about his game. He is a volume rusher. You are going to play him. You're going to play him on every down, and you're going to load him up with freaking carries, because if not, why the hell did you draft him?
It's a great point. We're going to do this, guys, every single Thursday. We're going to go through all the divisions. This was the NFC East today with Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Jaden Daniels, props, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, and Cam Scottaboo. We're going to grab all the players in every division. We'll take a look at another division coming up. Maybe we'll go to the NFC North coming up into that. Just people seem to love talking about the Lions these days. So maybe we'll go and talk about the Lions a bit with the quarterback show. D-Bro, this was awesome. If folks want to follow you and get your stuff, how can they do so every week?
Man, everything's at FantasyPros and BettingPros. You can follow me on X, all the socials really at Dbro_FFB. I mean, do this. When you reached out to me about doing this, I was like, let's do it, baby. Let's talk props. Let's talk NFL. I can't wait, man. We're like right now, it's like the sun is barely coming up over the horizon. Training camp's going to be here, and we're going to be talking about all of this stuff.
It's really cool. Looking forward to it. And the quarterback show got me really fired up for this, because I was like, okay, this is perfect, because that show coming out and now you're getting a chance to watch Kirk Cousins taking a picture of himself to the barber to give the barber his own headshot. It's all perfect. Like, it's all on brand and it's all perfect. Thank you, my friend. We'll do it again next week. Thanks for coming on.
Let's go, baby. Thanks,
D-Bro from BettingPros and FantasyPros joining us here on the Bostonian versus the Book. Great to get him on the program. We'll do it each and every week here on BvB as we'll go through the NFL and get you guys ready to go for the upcoming NFL season. That was a lot of fun to do that. You guys can also send questions if you want. I can ask D-Bro any season-long questions you may have, any fantasy questions you may have. He can answer them all as we head towards it. So we'll do some NFC North coming up next Thursday here on BvB. As we roll on, we talk about what happened, well, last night. All right, what happened last night in Major League Baseball? The Dodgers have lost 6 in a row. We told you yesterday, take the Brewers, who then turn around and sweep them. And that was a pretty impressive come-from-behind victory for the Brewers, who are hot. The Dodgers are not. Should LA be worried is the question. I don't think LA should be worried. I mean, Glasnow pitched very well yesterday. At the start of that game, he looked like the old Tyler Glasnow. So they need more of that, and they're going to get healthy as we go. The larger concern kind of is the offense. Like, where is the offense for the LA Dodgers? Losing 6 games in a row is 6 games in a row, and that scares Dodger fans like, oh my gosh, this team was supposed to win 120 games. Right, they'll be lucky to win 100. But the offense is what I am very concerned about if I was a Dodger fan. Not so much the pitching injuries, because you know who's coming back, and you know how many, you have deep pockets. You have to go fill a hole somewhere at the deadline. You're going to be able to go ahead and do that. It's the offense for the Dodgers, in particular on the road. They're great at home, but they're not great on the road. They're not a good road team. That's got to be a major concern if you're a Dodger fan as this goes and the way things are going to happen. The Red Sox have won 6 games in a row. They scored 29 runs against the Rockies over a 3-game stretch. They scored 59 runs, I believe it was, over the last 6 games. Over this win streak for Boston. Team total for the Red Sox is a rinse and repeat bet. Just keep on doing it. They're scoring, and they've got a huge series against the Rays starting today. More on that coming up here in just the picks. Toronto, Detroit, and Houston. They lead the AL divisions by a combined 22 games. The Phillies, Cubs, and Dodgers, they lead the National League divisions by a combined 7 games. These things are not the same. The National League and the American League, as we go into the final series before the All-Star break, there is such a gigantic difference between the caliber of baseball being played in the National League versus the American League. The Astros, I think, have been slept on. We told you guys about that last week. I have a 10-1 ticket now on the Astros to win the World Series. Another injury for them yesterday. They just can't get away from the injury bug, but they pitch, they hit, and they beat good baseball teams. They have the best record against teams over 500 right now in Major League Baseball. I like the Astros a lot. No one's talking about them because of the injuries, and they got a massive lead in the AL West. Not massive, but they have a lead in the AL West. And then you look at what's going on in the American League East with the Rays and the Red Sox, and now the Yankees all out looking up at the Blue Jays, who all of a sudden are pitching and hitting and playing the best baseball in the division. The Orioles have sort of figured it out. They're playing better. Detroit, they're the team with the massive lead. And, well, frankly, Detroit is the best team on paper. Everyone loves Detroit. I'm not one of them. I'm a little suspect on the Tigers at the moment, but they have Skubal. I mean, did they have Skubal? Like, when they have Skubal, you have Skubal. That's gigantic. As we head towards the break, these are the wild card races. While the National League is not going to be all that fun, the National League wild card races are going to be awesome. Mets, Brewers, Giants. Those are the 3 teams as of today. I like the Brewers. 13 games over 500, and they've got help. They're getting healthy at the right time. I don't know about the Mets. Mets are so inconsistent, up and down, but they could catch the Phillies, only half a game behind the Phillies. So they could be winning the division. Phillies could be in the wild card conversation. The Giants are 51 and 43, and Rafael Devers has done nothing. If Rafael Devers gets hot, they could go and do something. The Cardinals are a surprise team to be a game and a half back of the Giants at 49 and 44. We're on their over for their win total. The Padres have been a bit underwhelming. They're only 6 games over 500. You expect them. And then the Diamondbacks and the Reds are going to be a 500 baseball team. They're going to wallow pretty much right there. The Diamondbacks, I mean, they could punt. There's a big question as to what do you do with the Diamondbacks? Like, at the deadline, do you trade everybody? Or do you kind of just sit there and hope that you find something at the deadline or somebody overperforms? Corbin Carroll's got a wrist problem. Corbin Burns is out for the year. What do you do if you're the D-backs? Because there are numerous arms and players on that roster that teams would love to trade for at the deadline. So do you become a big seller if you're the Diamondbacks? On the other side, from the American League, the Yankees, the Rays, the Red Sox. Those are 3 teams all in the same division fighting the Blue Jays. Then you have the Mariners at 48 and 44. I don't buy the Angels. I sure don't buy the Twins. I like the Rangers, but they got to get their butts in gear. The Rangers could make some noise, in particular with the pitching that they've got. Guy at the top's pretty darn good in DeGrom. The Guardians have been the biggest disappointment. They were expected to win their division. Instead, they're way behind here with 4.5 games out of a wild card spot and way behind in the division for the Cleveland Guardians. But the American League wild card, I mean, could we wind up with 4 teams from the American League East in the playoffs? I mean, right now we're tied for that. The Mariners and the Red Sox are tied. So if Boston were to win a tiebreaker or whatever, you would have that. Blue Jays win the division. Yankees, Rays, Red Sox make up your American League wildcard teams. Long way to go. But at the deadline, there's a lot of bad baseball in the American League. National League is just, it's just so much better. National League is so much better. Time to talk about the picks in the games for tonight. All right, went 1-1 yesterday because the Orioles and the Mets game got rained out. So we'll see how that winds up playing out. I did not go. They're playing a doubleheader. They're playing right now, actually. I'm not in on that game at all. I punted out of that game just because I don't bet doubleheaders. They tend to worry me on this. But the Red Sox are playing the Rays. It's a rinse and repeat bet for me when it comes to the Red Sox. Their offense, I don't care who's pitching. I don't care what's happening for Boston. I'm betting on their team total. It's only 4.5. Boston's not facing the Rockies pitching anymore, but it doesn't matter. They're at home and they're red hot. All of their bats, top to lineup, top to bottom of the lineup. Everyone's hot. And they're facing a good pitcher in Taj Bradley for the Rays, but on the road, he has an ERA over 4. And in his last start, he gave up 3 earned runs and a 6-5 loss. Start before that, he gave up 5 earned runs and a 5-1 loss. Need the Red Sox to score 5 runs today. I think it's very possible. Tampa Bay may win the game, but I like Boston's team total over 4.5. Live update, by the way, it's 1-0 Mets over the Orioles in their first game, 3-0 Cubs over the Twins in their day baseball game. Washington in St. Louis. I like the over 8.5 in this game. I feel like I'm on a little bit of an island on this, but it's a little bit juiced to the over. Michael Soroka going against Miles Mikolas. Soroka, I mean, this guy, yikes. Get a load of the earned runs he's given up. In his last start, it was 7 earned runs he gave up to the Red Sox in an 11-2 loss. He only gave up 1 earned run to the Angels, but 8-2 was the final score. 3 earned runs in a 13-7 loss to the Dodgers. 3 earned runs in a 10-6 loss to the Rockies, and 4 earned runs in a 4-3 loss to the Mets. That is 5 straight losses the team has had in games started by Michael Soroka, and 4-1 to the over 8.5 in games he pitched. Miles Mikolas is on a very similar situation with the way he has pitched. The team has lost 4 of 5 games he has started. Final scores of 11-3 and 9-6 in the last 2 games. He gave up 8 earned runs to the Cubs and 6 earned runs to the Guardians, who really can't hit. We're going over. Washington, St. Louis, over 8.5. And I like Nick Lodolo, and I've liked him for a while. He's going against the Marlins. I'm going to go against the grain here a little bit. The Marlins have been a really popular team to bet on. The Marlins have won 3 of their last 5 games. They lost 7-2 yesterday. Reds lost the first game 5-1, the second game 12-2, and Cincinnati finally bounced back. 4th game of the series is tonight. Nick Lodolo is a lefty. The Marlins don't hit left-handed pitching. I like the Reds to score here today at home. Lodolo hasn't been as good on the road. He's got a 4.6 ERA at home, but a 2-2 mark with a 25 earned runs and 48 innings worth of work. He lost his last start 5-1. The team did, but that snapped a 3-game winning streak, 4-2, 6-1, and 3-2 for the Reds. That's 2-1 on the run line. I'll take a plus money shot on the Reds on the run line here tonight with Nick Lodolo on the mound against a Marlins lineup that does not hit left-handed pitching very well. We hit the prop yesterday. Let's hit it again. All right, this is dangerous here, okay, for the BvB prop bet of the day. We've been doing well with earned runs for pitchers, but I'm going to go back to a hitter because Jose Ramirez for the Guardians has hit a home run in 3 consecutive games. I don't need him to hit a home run today. I just need him to go over 1.5 bases today. You can bet him to hit a home run if you want. If you want to jump in and do that, you can. But I just need him to hit 2 bases up against the White Sox and Jonathan Cannon, who has been pretty good at home. 3.38 ERA at home, 1-1 record, only 3 home runs given up in 21 and a third innings worth of work at home for Jonathan Cannon. He's given up 2 earned runs, 1 in 5 and 5 over the last 4 games started. He's been battling some injuries, only pitched 2 games in the month of June, pitched on the 5th of July, last time out against the Rockies, 10-3 win for Jonathan Cannon and the White Sox. But I just need 2 singles or a double here out of Jose Ramirez. Hits another home run, it would be 4 straight days for Jose Ramirez. That should be pretty cheap, -110, -115 from a juice perspective for the BvB prop bet of the day. We're going to jump in with Jose Ramirez over 1.5 bases here today for the Guardians up against the White Sox. All right, time for our Circa Sports Pro Football story of the day. And this is being brought to you by our friends at Circa Sports. You guys are going to go to circasports.com to get all the information about what's happening as they're guaranteeing $6 million for the Circa Million, $15 million for Circa Survivor. Plus, they're getting multiple players to come in. They have 4 entries now for the $100,000 Survivor contest they're calling the Grantismo. That is going to be wild to watch and see if they get their full. They need 15 because they've guaranteed $1.5 million in that gigantic contest. We'll see if they get to it. They think they're going to. They got 4 already here in the early part of July. The Ultimate Football Contest weekend will happen on August 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. The BvB live show will happen on the 21st and the 22nd. We hope to see all of you guys there. If you go to circasports.com, you can check out room rate details and packages that are currently up at the moment, whether you're coming in for the contests or not. They've got great stay packages available for the month of August that you guys can go and take advantage of right now if you want to check it out for August 21st and 22nd for the live show for Dave Sharapan and myself, live from Circa Sports, as we do it each and every summer for the Ultimate Football Contest weekend, Thursday, August 21st, and Friday, August 22nd. This story is sort of like an off the wall one. It's not one that's all that interesting, but I want to just bring it up. Chad Ochocinco has organized a wide receiver workshop weekend. So in the beginning of this, it was the running backs for the NFL. They all were on a conference call. Like that was the first thing that they did. They got on this conference call to talk about the position and the contracts and how do they get themselves more money and how do they get themselves more carries and more publicity and blah, 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 right? That was the whole, like the colluding amongst the running backs. Then it turned into the tight end weekend where they went to Nashville and Taylor Swift is all over the internet playing. They had a bar party for all the tight ends and she and George Kittle are up there singing old country songs. And then Taylor goes down and grabs a guitar and starts playing and whatnot. And so the media coverage, folks are all over this tight end weekend in Nashville. So now we have a wide receiver workshop going on with Chad Ochocinco. I can't tell if I love it or I hate it. Like a part of me likes it. Like a part of me thinks it's neat that these players that all play the same position are getting together to be, on the same page, to talk about their craft, to talk about what they're doing. And I mean, yeah, that's an interesting point from Roger Long. Like anyone needs to take advice from Chad Ochocinco. Okay. Maybe he's not the greatest of guy to do that. Maybe that's not there. I talked about Kirk Cousins, Jason McCasey. I talked about the Great Clips that he actually brought his own headshot to Great Clips to have the barber copy his own headshot from the media guide last year. We talked about that with Debro. So that did make the show. Von Miller had one. I didn't know that. Von Miller had a pass rushing summit. I like it. Ray Lewis has a linebacker university. I like it because, I mean, what did we all do growing up? We all went to summer camp, right? We all went to camp and we all went and worked on our craft. We all went to basketball camp or baseball camp or football camp, or whatever, before we wound up going. So like, I wonder if that's what's kind of spurred this, that a lot of these guys have been used to it because we all did it growing up. We all went to camp. So it's like going to summer camp, but you're going to go to wide receiver camp, or I'm going to tight end camp, or I'm going to linebacker camp, and I'm going to go make friends. And, life is about who you know, right? So it's a way of learning about other players and other programs and what they do. And other workout regimens and how they're getting ready for the season. You can learn by just opening up your ears and listening to these guys talk or watching what they do, how they get prepared. So I do like that. I think that's interesting, but it is sort of unique that like everyone is now coming together to do this. It's it's much of a different situation here, that there's a wide receiver camp now to go along with the tight ends and the running backs and everybody else here in the NFL. If you guys are watching live, don't move. Bonus time coming on the other side. If you're on the replay crew, thank you for being here. Thank you to Derek Brown and Debro and Ben from FantasyPros and BettingPros. Every Thursday, we'll break down a different NFL division with him here on the program. But for those of you guys who are watching us live, stick around. For those of you on the replay on SiriusXM and Sports Grid Television, thank you for being here. Back tomorrow, same place, same time. The rest of you guys, we roll with bonus time. The linemen don't have camp due to food costs. I mean, does anyone have offensive line camp, or are those guys getting left out too? The punters camp must be riveting. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I don't know. It is kind of like going to camp, though. It's a different world, right? When you go to camp, and you I don't think they're sleeping over, but you know, they did at tight end camp. Tight end camp, everyone went to Nashville, and they all hung out and did all this and partied in Nashville together and had a good old time. And I thought it looked fun. I mean, I think I would have liked to have been there. Look, it was a fun time. News of the industry. News of the industry. JC from Casey, this story's for you. The head of the American Gaming Association has penned an op-ed in the Casey Star. Now, why is this news? It's news to me because Bill Miller, who we know, who's been on this show, they're going to the states directly to tell people about their opinion on prediction markets, i.e. Kalshi. Bill Miller, headline, prediction markets are just gambling. Kansas must regulate them that way. I find it interesting because now we're going to talk about basic language. Now we're just going to talk about this in a very simple way about the CFTC, about, as he says, sell, quote, so-called contracts on the outcome of events, like whether the Chiefs will repeat as AFC champions. He's talking about Kansas and other lawmakers, that they should be wary of this. If you remember what Dave and I used to talk about when Kansas went legal, about how corrupt the state was in terms of the way that it was bought and sold, it is interesting to see that Bill Miller is going after Kansas, trying to get Kansas to fight, because they must feel like they've got some friends in that state that can go and fight it. Because what everyone on the opposite side of Kalshi trying to make it illegal is looking for is a legal opinion that they can use in the state courts of Nevada and New Jersey and Maryland. So if a Kansas court would outlaw Kalshi and call Kalshi illegal, and that they are gambling and they're violating the state law for Kansas for gambling, that would then give some standing for the other cases to use the ruling in their own cases, because there's a lot of song and dance going on right now. There's a lot of worry about, well, if I do this, if I call a spade, what happens? Like what happens? Because there's people at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue who are not going to like it if you go ahead and take Kalshi off the board, because they have family involved with it. So I don't know. I watch Kansas. When I saw this, I was like, this is interesting. I get why they would go ahead and do that. I get why they would go to a state like Kansas and say, okay, Bill Miller flexing some muscles, writing an op-ed, and then trying to get something favorable, because the AGA does not agree that Kalshi should be legal. The AGA believes it's gambling, and the AGA believes, mostly because of who funds the AGA, but like big casino properties do not like that Kalshi is taking money out of their pocket. So now what happens? So just watch how Kansas plays out, because the Cauchy fight might very well wind up being heavily involved with Kansas. If a Kansas court does come back and say, we think it's illegal, this should not be allowed. So, I mean, we're friends with the AGA. Bill Miller is a friend of Dave and mine, and we have nothing negative to say about it. I just thought it was interesting that they wrote an op-ed in the KC Star about this, because Cauchy is targeting Kansas? Not so much. We're trying to play four-dimensional chess here when it comes to all this as to whether or not we can get Cauchy kicked off the playing surface. At the moment, they're operating and they're not going anywhere. At least they don't think they have to go anywhere. Favorite thing about today? All right, favorite thing about today, I am super excited that D-Bro is going to be with us each and every week here on the show. We were looking for ways to incorporate him. Dave and I both sat down and had a long talk with him back in February about what to do this football season. And D-Bro is going to be part of the show going forward. And then unfortunately, just the stuff has happened here with Dave. I wasn't going to talk about this. But I kind of feel like I have to talk about this right now. So, cancer sucks. Okay. Cancer is a really shitty, awful thing. And I lost my aunt last night to it. And whenever you get that phone call or that notification, or someone tells you that they've lost their life, it shatters you. And I am so thankful that Dave caught what he caught early and has had the surgery, and it has not spread. It has not gone into his lymph nodes. It's not gone to any other part of his body. It was localized in his mouth, and they were able to take care of it. And whether Dave can talk professionally again or not, Dave is going to survive and is going to be here with us. So for that, I couldn't be more thankful. And I was really busted up last night. I was really not in a good place last night when I found out about my aunt, and it was just crazy that like my aunt lost her battle, and I'm waiting on text messages from Jessica, Dave's wife, about how Dave is doing. And I have probably thought about it my whole life that cancer didn't impact me much. Like I knew some people, but I never had it be put right into my face. And over the last, 6-7 months, one with my aunt, but now with Dave, that like it's a daily part of my life. And so if you have somebody battling, if you have somebody fighting cancer in your life, just know that you're not alone. There's a lot of people out here that are fighting this shit disease, and we're trying to find solutions, and funding hopefully gets restored to cancer research, and we start funding these doctors that are doing incredible work trying to save people's lives every day. Because, well, if you haven't met somebody who lost a family member to cancer, you do now, because I'm part of that unfortunate fraternity of people that have lost people in their direct family. My dad's youngest sister was in her 60s, passed away. She's younger than my mother. My mom is young, and my aunt was younger than my mom. So that was not something that I was expecting to hear yesterday. I knew things weren't going well, but really tough night last night when we found out the news of that with my aunt, who was in Virginia. So I'm actually on the East Coast. So I was on the same time zone as them, luckily, when I was able to talk to my family last night about it. So it's a tough situation for anybody battling. If you're battling, we always say that this show should be your safe place, and you can always reach out to us. You can email the show, askthebvb@gmail.com. You can text the show. We always have the same text number that we've had for a long time, with 702-570-8255, or you can email the show, go to thebvbshow.com. So I'm really happy Debro's part of the program. I'm glad that we were able to get him to be a part of the show. And not that my favorite thing about today was my wife, was my aunt passing away, but I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful to be here with you guys. I'm thankful to be able to do all this, and thank you guys for watching and paying attention while we're all going through this shit time here for us. But you guys were with us before all the negative stuff, and we expect the brigade to be with us afterwards, and we hopefully get back to giving you guys the content you expect out of us over the next couple of months. But once I hear more about Dave, I'll pass it along. I don't have any other information to give you guys than what I had yesterday, but hopefully we'll have it. Fight Song Friday is tomorrow, not Roll Call Friday. We're doing a Fight Song Friday. I'll explain tomorrow how that's going to work, but we'll get some football, some college football to get you guys revved up here as the countdown is on to Farmageddon, Iowa State and Kansas State in Ireland. The first college football game of the year will be happening in about 42 days or something like that. So Fight Song Friday until Dave Sherpan comes back. I'm Matt Perrault, back tomorrow for a Friday's version of the Bostonian versus the Book.